Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and early start to this nice Thursday morning over here. Thursday, the day after the good old FOMC, of which Bitcoin playing out some pretty actually massive moves there within the daily range. And I wanted to follow up on the short-term time frame and also higher-term time frame analysis with that in mind. And of course, more economic events to come today as well as GDP numbers get released. And then of course, what else do we have? Earnings reports, I believe, as well. So lots of fun action to be getting ready for. And I suspect that, yeah, without further ado, probably just best to jump right into this one. Oh, yesterday I did upload a video, another strategy video, which you may or may not be interested in. I just thought that I'd kind of call that out there because it seems like it's actually been rather popular, especially with, people kind of looking for like basically a working strategy or at least how I go about that, even if you're not intent on using that exact one. All right, cool. So let's start it off right on over here, starting off with the short-term time frame. So yesterday we were looking at something like this. Some like Bitcoin playing out a little bit of a sideways move to an upside move coming into that FOMC meeting, and then some wick action, and who knows what the fuck happens from there. Just looking at range resolutions, of which we did see a closure above the 382, that prior breakdown level at about 22,200-ish region, which did imply a move back up to the range highs. So with that in mind, now that we are, well, right at the range highs, what typically happens after that? A little bit of a pullback action likely in store. Now, again, with economic events coming up later today and maybe even tomorrow as well, although I need to check my calendar, those can always throw a spanner in the works, of course. But as far as technicals go, I do like the higher term time frame look on this one right now. So with that in mind, coming into a region like this, is there a few more spikes within it? Perhaps yes, but ultimately I probably would be looking for a pullback. The reason why is, as I'll explain this, is one, we see that 4-hour BBWP is starting to get to extremes here. No, we are not into a contraction phase just yet, but it is, it's getting pretty damn close right there. I just want to see this one start to turn down and specifically get below the moving average. And at that point, I'd be looking for a little bit of a consolidation sideways and down from here. On top of that, we also do see that stochastic momentum on the short-term timeframes is starting to get rather egregious there as well. Again, it's still up though. I mean, as long as Bitcoin's above 21.5, it will be up for this next period. But the thing is that the higher that you go, the more difficult it will be to maintain that momentum. And typically what happens is that in this case, we probably played a little bit of a downside move, hopefully for the Bulaw's sake, set in a higher low, and then continue onwards and forwards. And then of course we also got 4-hour RSI over here as well, of which your first test into the bullish control zone probably going to get pushed back, like not a super big deal, but something like this, if it's going to end up being bullish, and then boom, maybe another try in there. But ultimately that would imply a little bit of sideways action right here, as Bitcoin does essentially kind of test in that same region that it got rejected from just a week ago now. Yeah, about a week ago on the 20th and 21st of July actually. So with that all said, I did forget to mention as well, funding rates on the hourly are also, a little bit more on the positive side right there. Again, testing into a daily range high like that at 0.08%. It's not, again, super concerning for like the higher term timeframes, but the lower term timeframes can definitely have a bit of a reprieve there, especially with like the very, very low term timeframe stochastic momentum oscillators also getting into some pretty crazy territories. The buy hourly is like max as far as volatility goes, and also turning down as long as Bitcoin's below 23,000 bucks, which actually right now it's above. So again, bit of sideways, probably a bit of downside, but not to be confused with like a rejection just yet. Hourly pivoted at 23,300-ish region. So with that in mind, what is the big pivot right here? What would Bulaw's want to be seeing, assuming that Bitcoin does get continuation after a bit of a short-term sideways consolidation? Well, in this case, I'd still be looking at the same pivot that we had from yesterday. I do think that more aggressive people might be using 22,500. I think that would actually work within this case, maybe even a little bit higher than that, like 22,550. Basically the same number anyway, especially on a higher term time frame. But we could move some up right there, basically, meaning that as long as Bitcoin's above there, anything that you see is just another higher low. If Bitcoin starts to really close even 4-hour dildos below this region, I would actually be looking for another move back down to the bottom side of the range, actually. But even coming back down to the bottom side of the range, it's kind of the same thing as before. It's like, we might test around the current, or I guess the last prior daily low, or maybe even a little bit lower than that. But ultimately, I don't think that Bitcoin's going to be setting up for any sort of, I still think that Bitcoin generally is more likely to bounce further to the upside out of this range rather than go for any new lows as of yet. Maybe later down the road, like months down the road, definitely possible. But for right now, it's either, at least in my opinion, it's either something like this, boom, or something like this, boom, something of that nature, essentially. as everyone just kind of gets chopped up in the same goddamn range, which fair enough, man. That's Bitcoin. That's why we love it. Anyways, what else did I want to bring up right here? So yes, we spoke about the downside pivot. What about, well, the upside? I mean, I think it's rather obvious right here, but 23,750 on a 4-hour closure. Then yes, I would be constituting that as a breakout. Next targeted region about 25.5, and then above there, the big one at 26.5 or so. Again, I don't think that's happening like as of right now, for what it's worth. And then of course, things don't really even change around, especially for the medium or higher term time frames, as long as Bitcoin's above that last daily higher low, which is effectively about $21,000, basically based perfectly off of that 618 right there. And yeah, yesterday I was looking for a short-term move up, and then probably does retest or maybe a little bit lower than there. Definitely gonna be wrong on that idea, but fair enough. In this case, that is why I don't like to put my opinion on price action, just like to go off of the actual documentable things that we can actually identify right here. All right, sweet. So what else did I want to bring up? Yes, now that we've gone through the lower term timeframes, let's get into the medium and higher term timeframes. So first off, starting with the 12-hour. This I missed big time yesterday. And this would have extended my bias, not just for a short-term upside move, but for a medium-term upside move. So shame on me for missing this one. But yeah, there was some hidden bullish divergence present on the 12-hour RSI. And then also we are going to see 12-hour Joule, or it did lose its downside curvature, might get an upside signal here, although that's not like a perfect signal really. So, maybe another, sludge at that range high. Anyways, what else did we want to get into? Yes. Okay. So on that note, I also wanted to bring up 12-hour stochastic momentum pivoted to the upside as long as Bitcoin's above basically $21,000. So again, that's one of the other reasons why, Bitcoin does come back down here. I don't think that we're getting any like major continuation to the downside. Probably goes for a higher low first, and then daily is pivoted at $23,000. So if we do see today close above $23,000, that'll be the next sort of, I guess, good thing to be seen. I don't think that we're going to see a breakout today or continuation today, but holding sideways above that level would actually look pretty good coming into tomorrow, Friday, because that's when all the higher term timeframes close, and that's what we're going to focus the rest of this analysis on. So, all right, so how do I want to do this? Okay, first we'll start off right here. Tomorrow is going to be the weekly closure for CME, of course. Weekly for CME is going to have a chance to have a first closure over closure for upside stochastic momentum on the weekly, a rather powerful time frame after coming down to, some extreme lows right here. That will happen as long as Bitcoin closes the weekly tomorrow for CME above 19,500 basically. And anytime that we have seen with throughout CME's history across the upside from these regions, it has been it's been pretty damn good, let's just say. Did I mark them all off right here? Okay, I don't know what I was testing on this particular, let me actually just double see. Oh yeah, this one was for a daily, but if we were to do it for a weekly, I'm sure that you can just kind of visualize along this horizontal line that I have right here. Goddamn lines on my chart. Anything that we have seen weekly stochastic momentum kind of base off within this region, it's typically been a big bounce point, in some cases even a macro reversal. So this one was coming in from July 2021, 1 year ago. What was that? Well, that was quite literally the big bad bear trap that we saw on the macro scale right here. More recently, we saw one in February as well. Now, again, this was in no way, shape, or form a macro low, obviously, but it was a pretty nice move from bottom to top of about 44%, a little bit over that, so not bad right there. There was a nice downside move before that as well, I should denote. Of course, we have another example over here, another complete failure, actually. This one coming in from these lows before getting faded, about 66% move to the upside. I mean, pretty damn good, no doubt about that, but good old black swan straight after that certainly didn't help. And then we have the 2018 lows right here. Again, that was actually a macro low. And then before that, another failed rally attempt in the heat of a bear market, literally in July 2018. Kind of funny how July just does not like fucking Bitcoin apparently. But yeah, in this case, again, another failed rally, but that was 53% move to the upside. So, Bitcoin can play a nice move to the upside here. Maybe even, going for a gap fill would be kind of a lot. It's kind of high. It's kind of high right there. But ultimately, an upside move here. Again, while I could be looking for this on a weekly scale, I am still very hesitant to be calling any sort of macro lows in this case. I still don't have the indications that I want to be seeing for a macro low. We'll go over that once the end of this month draws a little bit closer, specifically when we actually get to next month, actually. Like the first day will be a lot more interesting to be looking at such things. Anyways, until then, I wanted to bring up this chart yet again. I just want to make sure that I'm also recording. Okay, the video is working. That's good. And this was the weekly PMARP chart. Going off of the index right here. So what is PMARP? It's basically an indicator that measures the distance that current price action is away from whatever, moving average that you have specified. I'm using a 20 period VWMA, and then look back period is 100 on this one for this particular analysis. And I found that there have been actually several iterations where we've seen this get into extreme lows. Extreme lows I define as below 2 percentile for this particular one, and it's happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, working on time number 13, all throughout Bitcoin's history. And we do see that within the context of this analysis, some pretty consistent results, I would say, or at least consistent enough that I think it's interesting. It's interesting to speak about. And so there was a historical reversion play off of those lows on the weekly for about a 59% move on average. Again, there is variance in this. We have seen as low as, what's the lowest one that we saw? Oh, Jesus Christ, I just done goofed right there. Fuck me. Sorry. I think in like the 40s. Yeah, the 40% region. So still pretty fucking good. But yeah, that definitely would be a bit different than the average of 59. And we've seen as high as like 100%. Obviously, that is really fucking good. And then the average days taken from that signal given to the next major high was on average just under 53.5 days right there. So in this case, if we take that day number as at face value, it actually would be projecting a likelihood around that targeted region, actually first week of August, which, wait, let me actually see. This would be to the 8th of August. So yeah, I guess that would be a little bit more than a week, about 7 to 10 days from now, essentially. And of course, this is an average. There's going to be some variance around that, but that's pretty damn consistent with a lot of the other things that we've looked at in the past as well. And then the historical reversion play right there, the average, I should say, coming off these lows from $17,500. If we were to go with the average, 59% actually puts Bitcoin in the mid 27s, like 27.5%. Again, there's some variance there. I suspect this one's probably going to be on the lower end. If it even played up like 50%, that'd put Bitcoin at 26,500 for example. If it played up to 45%, that'd put Bitcoin at 25.5. I think those are kind of the major areas of interest for any sort of an upside reversion play, which would be really, really good for a potential kickback there. Assuming that we do get continuation, which again is in no way, shape, or form guaranteed. The only the only confirmation that I'd be looking for that as a viable target would be a closure above the daily range highs here, which is 23,750 on a short-term time frame, or if we're on a daily. Well, if we're on a daily basis, same thing. Basically the same thing on a daily, maybe a little bit lower than that, to be fair. But I think that'll do it for this particular video right here. I didn't mention open interest, but actually open interest did not get down to the levels that I wanted to see. Got down to about eight and a quarter billion. I wanted to see more like 7.5 to 7 billion. At this point, am I being greedy with that? Perhaps yes. In fact, the chart is quite literally telling me that I am being greedy with that. So fair enough. So I wanted to follow up on that as well, full disclosure. And so I think that is a good place to be leaving off on this particular video. But I want to be wishing you well yet again. Much love, take care, and see you hopefully soon.